Here's a video that I think is going to be a big hit with my class. It's how to use the calculator to solve systems. We've been doing it by hand, trying to figure out what the process is, seeing that there is a systematic process that always gives an answer, namely Gauss-Jordan elimination going to reduced row echelon form. Well, given that it's so systematic, the calculator should be able to do that quite well, and it is. And so if we're looking at this system, what we want to do is first put in the augmented matrix. So how do we do that? We go to second matrix, go over to edit, and the only one that's set up is A, and we can use that. We don't need to save that for anything else. Now the first thing is it asks us what the dimensions are. 3 rows, right arrow, 4 columns, right arrow, and it sets that up. And then we just put in the entries. 3, oh now right arrow doesn't work for some reason. 3 and then enter, and then 2, enter, 2, enter, 5, enter, and then -9 with the correct minus sign because the TI is weird about that. -22. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't all stay on the screen all at once, so it can be a little tricky to check it. But that's what happens with a calculator instead of a computer. Okay, so now we've got that, and then we can quit out of that. Now, to access that, you go to second matrix, and then if you just do names, it brings A up, and then it'll give it to you. And now it actually, even because it's not in edit mode, you can actually see this all on the screen. So we can double check 3, 2, 2, 5, -9, -8, -9, -22, 12, 2, -2, -5. Okay, so we know that we want to put this in reduced echelon form, and there's this great thing. You go to second matrix again, math, you go down. It's got some basic stuff. We're going to talk about determinants a little bit. Dimension, identity. We're going to talk a little bit about this, not all. And then there's REF for row echelon form, and then there's RREF, our favorite tool, for reduced row echelon form. And then we want that of A, so we go back to matrix one more time and just enter on the names A. Close that parenthesis, although I don't think it's necessary. Boom. And we've got our reduced row echelon form. Okay. Now, let's see. Does frac? I'm going to see if frac works on. I think that does work. Yeah. So we really would prefer the exact form unless it's a really obnoxious kind of decimal. Okay. So what does this say? Reduced echelon form. For this matrix, I picked something where we would get a unique solution, and we'll do a more complicated one in a minute. This, if we just read out what those equations say, it just says, whoops, we're basically done. X equals 2/3. Or really x plus 0y plus 0z. But the whole point is that's a really good thing to have. Y equals -5/2. And z equals 4. And we're done. Okay? So you just have to know how to do second matrix, the edit, and the math, RREF, which is letter B, and then just the names, which is how you access the matrix. Okay. Now, what about a more complicated system? I have one written down right here. This is the kind of thing you would probably not want to do by hand. Let me put 2 pieces of paper on here. I guess I could erase, but it might be slightly quicker to not have to worry about it. Okay. So let's enter this thing in. Probably should have had it pre-entered. Let's see. Edit. B. Save the B. Okay, so now that is a 4×6 matrix. Oh my goodness. This would be a good place to fast forward the video slightly because I didn't think to put this in beforehand. Or I forgot, really. I did think about it. And we're just putting it in here. Don't forget the 0. That wasn't too painful, now was it? Let's quit, and then see if we can see all that on one screen. Almost. So -2, 6, -8, 14, 2, -6, 8, -14. Hey, that's interesting. Those columns are almost the same. There's something contrived about this example. And indeed there is. It's going to lead to something kind of special. -3, 9, -10, 25. -12, 46. Okay, so there's a matrix version of our system. There's B. Okay. Now, let's just RREF it. That's down here at B. And I guess I could do ants, because that was the last thing, but I'll just do B. Boom. Okay. And let me put that in fraction mode, because I did contrive it. If these had been truly random numbers, I would be getting, it'd still be fractions. It's rational numbers. You can't get irrational numbers out of this process if you don't start with them. But the denominators could be really, really big. But I did contrive it so the answer would be pretty simple. So let's do math frac. Okay. Hey, it just barely fits. Okay. So what have we got? When we convert that back to equations, it says A minus B plus 1/2 E equals 3. The next one says C plus 2E equals minus 2/3. And then this one says D minus 2E, there's a 2 there, equals 4. Okay. So what do we do with that? Okay. Oh, and then there's this last row of zeros. Okay. Well, this is where the RREF, you really have to know what's going on here to interpret this. We have got pivots, the A the column and the C column and the D column. These have ones in front of them, leading entries which have been set to 1 for this form. Those are the pivots, and so these are the pivot variables. Those are the ones that are not free. So pivot, or in other words, leading variables. I should be using a pen maybe, I don't know. I'm still using my marker. Not free, not arbitrary. But the others are free. I can set them to be whatever I want them to be. Okay? So in fact, well, I'll finish it up over here. Okay? So let's let E equal T and the other one, B, equals S. Just to emphasize that they're not variables that we probably thought had definite values. We're going to set them to be free parameters, T and S. And then I just have to move everything over. D is going to be 4 plus 2E, or in other words, 4 plus 2T. C is another one I can solve for. That's minus 2/3 plus 2E. So that's all, sorry, minus 2E. When I move this over, it's going to be a minus 2T. And then A is going to be 3 plus a B, which we're now calling S, and minus 1/2 E, which we're calling T. Whew, okay, so let me just put them back in order. A equals 3 plus S minus 1/2 T. B is just something we pick. C is minus 2/3 minus 2T. D is 4 plus 2T. And E is something we're free to pick. That is the solution. Now, I know that probably seems like a fair amount of work, even using the calculator. But this is a huge, by our standards, it's a really big system. And by using the calculator, getting it to reduced echelon form, and knowing what to do with that, that's really the key, we've got our system. We got our solution. We can pick B and E to be any two numbers. We call them S and T. And then A, C, and D are determined from those. And that's how to do it on the calculator.